I now call this regular meeting of Davenport Community School District Board of Directors to order. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Director Hayes, would you please read the mission and vision statements?
Yes, sir. I'll be happy to. The Davenport Community School District is dedicated to growing excellence in academics, the arts, and athletics in every child by ensuring the highest quality education in an environment shaped by our diverse community, preparing our students to be lifelong learners and productive citizens. Vision statement: education that challenges the conventional thinking, prepares all students to compete in global society, and inspires our students, parents, staff, and community to answer the question, what if?
Thank you. Director Klein Jerome, would you please read the guiding principles?
Guiding principles: opportunity. We provide abundant opportunities to empower students to reach their full potential, academically, creatively, and socially. Collaboration. We foster an environment that allows students, families, and community stakeholders to come together for the betterment of our students, education, and future. Transparency. We share relevant and important information with our students, families, and the community to maintain open and productive communication.
Thank you. Superintendent Schneckloff, would you please read the goals?
Goal number 1, to enhance student learning.
Thank you. I want to notate for the record that Director Potts is participating remotely, so he is with us tonight. Let's see. Move on to the public hearing. I will now conduct a public hearing on the plans and specifications for the West High School ESSER HVAC abatement project as shown in the 95% plans and specifications. Notice of the hearing was published in the Quad City Times on July 14th, 2023. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please step forward to the microphone or call 1-312-626-6799 and enter meeting ID 985-2736-2739 and passcode 574897. State your name and address for the record. Seeing and hearing none, I now declare the public hearing closed. May I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Director Poston.
I move the board approve the plans and specifications for the West High HVAC upgrades ESSER project as shown in the 95% plans and specifications.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. We have no recognitions tonight or presentations. Move on to board reports.
Sorry, I was behind you.
Are there any board reports? Groundbreakings, nothing? No one's got nothing? I know, I was giving anybody the opportunity. A lot of us attended the West High groundbreaking. It was a great event. Really looking forward to that. I was waiting for someone to chime in on that, but that's all right. I will turn it, Brenda, do you want me to bring your microphone to you or are you coming to the podium? Okay.
School board elections will be held in conjunction with city elections on Tuesday, November 7th. As of today, the terms of 5 of our board members expire in November. Directors Gosa, Klein Jerome, Hayes, Postian, and Barnes. 4 of the openings are for traditional 4-year terms, and 1 opening is for 2 years. The 2-year opening is to elect a director to complete the term for which Director Barnes was recently appointed. Candidates will need to indicate on their affidavits if they're running to fill the vacancy that resulted from resignation. It's like a default to a 4-year. Iowa Secretary of State, Iowa Association of School Boards have excellent materials available on their websites. I also have packets available. If anybody's interested in running, please give me a call or stop by. I'm happy to answer questions. I can refer you to someone else. I can help in any way. Nomination papers must be filed between the dates of August 28th and September 21st with me. So just put that on your calendar. IASB is offering some webinars. So if you're interested in that, the first one is August 17th. Registration is open for that. And they have, some great information.
Thank you, Brenda. Director Potts, did you have any board reports? I apologize, I didn't ask you.
No, there's nothing happening at the Lake of the Ozarks.
Thank you, sir. We will move on to communications. Open forum. Open forum is a time for members of the community to give input at a board meeting regarding school district issues or concerns. Individuals who want to speak, please fill out an open forum request and give it to the board secretary prior to open forum. The form is available in hard copy for in-person attendees or on the school board page of the district's website for those who want to participate virtually. Virtual participants must email their request to Brenda T. at tbren@davenportschools.org by 3 p.m. on the day of the board meeting. The board will not act on any issue presented during open forum if it was not published as an agenda item. Iowa Open Meetings Law prohibits action on any issue that is not on the agenda. The president may set the amount of time allowed for individuals to speak. The board asks that no charges or complaints be made against individual employees of the district or community. Remarks that reflect negatively on the character or motives of any person will be called out of order. You will be asked to state your name and home address prior to making remarks. We have one open forum request tonight. We have no virtual open forum request. We have Ray Reed. If you step up to the microphone, make sure you push the button and then state your name and address.
Hello, my name is Ray Reed. I live at 2818 Grand Avenue. I bring to you the recent rulings that our Governor Kim Reynolds has done that will affect the students of the Davenport Community School District. I have recently graduated from the district in the class of 2023 from North High School. I have been with the district my entire life. As you may or may not know, on Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023, Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds signed into effect Senate Files 538 and 482. These files target the transgender community, especially those under the age of 18. Senate File 538 states exactly as follows: an act relating to prohibiting activities regarding gender transition procedures relative to minors, and including effective date and application provisions. Senate File 482 explicitly states an act prohibiting persons from entering single and multiple occupancy restrooms or changing areas and other faculties in elementary and secondary schools that do not correspond with a person's biological sex, and including effective date provisions. Many of those who voted for these laws claim that they were to be for children's safety and to prevent children from getting medical procedures they may regret later. These procedures include puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and transition-related surgeries. These are all reversible procedures and oftentimes only leave minor long-term side effects, most common being slower development, especially in their genitalia and sex characteristics. Alongside this, it is not just transgender individuals that use hormone therapy, as many cisgender, assigned with their birth sex, individuals use them as well because they produce a low supply of their sex hormone. By banning these, people may turn to more dangerous and less tested products and methods, putting them at a larger risk than they already use. So I had, during the last quarter of the most recent school year, went around with a petition to the main 3 high schools within the district, asking students to sign if they believe that it would be the right of transgender students to ask for more security in the district, providing them with gender-neutral bathrooms that will always be available. If possible, more education on the topics of gender transition in health class, and the promise that individuals are safe to express themselves and present as their true genders, and continuing to have the name option and gender change, the option for name and gender changes in the school district that we currently have. At the moment, we have just around 200 signatures, and we are still gaining more.
So during open forum, we don't interact. It's just,
Yes.
okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
We always appreciate public input at open forum. We will move on to the consent agenda. May I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board accept the consent agenda as written.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Superintendent report.
Thank you. I would like to extend a thank you to our new director of the Department of Education, Mackenzie Snow. Last week, she called us and asked if she could tour some of our summer school programs. And this morning, we visited 3 buildings, Fillmore, Hayes, and Mid-City. And I was very impressed with the interactions that our new director of education, Director Snow, had with our students. Asked great questions, and she ended her time in Davenport asking the overarching question was how can the Department of Ed support the Davenport Community School District. Overall, a very positive visit, and just want to extend a thank you for coming and visiting our schools. We were the first school district that she visited, and she plans to make many more across the state, but just wanted to extend a thank you for her to come and spend some time with our students. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Committee reports. Data Wall Ad Hoc Committee.
Right now, you saw the airline data that we had up there. Now we're actually working on the visualization. John Flynn has been working with our learning results department to actually put together the visualization for the actual presentation.
Thank you. Finance Committee.
We met last Thursday, and Kevin, were you going to present anything? Okay.
Thank you. LZAC.
We're on hiatus until the fall.
Long Range Facilities Planning.
We met last week, kind of went over some of the details about the planned demolition of the 2 schools and had a light discussion concerning the property and properties that we might need to unload. Also had a little slight discussion too about Buchanan and the interest that's popped up in individual groups wanting access to that building.
Thank you. We also discussed some of the stuff for the cow. We'll be having a deeper dive with the board on the cow. Thank you, Director Potts. Policy Committee.
We meet again in a couple weeks.
Okay, thank you. Legislative Advocacy. We met and went over the legislative priorities for both Rural School Advocates of Iowa, the UEN, and the Iowa Association of School Boards. And I believe you guys all got that stuff sent out to you. right, and we'll be taking action on these legislative priorities a little bit later on in the meeting. Did anyone have any questions on any of these, or we can kind of address that when we go into it? We're going to have a discussion and a vote on this later on for the priorities. All right, we will move on to items requiring action. May I have a motion on subject 10.01 online learning?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board approve the contract renewal of Imagine Learning Parent Company of Ingenuity in the amount of $642,000.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 10.02 textbook adoption for family and consumer science pathways?
Mr. Chairman,
Director Poston.
move the board approve the purchase of curriculum resources from Goodhart Wilcox Publishers for family and consumer science pathways, totaling $143,255.50 using ESSER funding.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 10.03 textbook adoption for applied science pathways?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board approve the purchase of curriculum resources from Goodhart Wilcox Publishing totaling $52,276.67 using ESSER funds for use of applied sciences pathway.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 10.04 approval of equity coordinators?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move the board approve the Title IX equity coordinators as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 10.05 approval of level 1 and level 2 investigators?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board approve the level 1 and 2 investigators as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 10.06 approval of LEA homeless liaison?
Mr. Chairman,
Director Poston.
move the board designate Shaney Ford as local education agency liaison for homeless children and youth.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 10.07 legislative priorities for rural school advocates of Iowa?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board approve the rural school advocates of Iowa legislative priorities as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this? Director Beck.
So are we just being asked to agree with the buttons that have been clicked on here? And who clicked, like, where did these come from? Who made these decisions?
On what level they were? The legislative advocacy group. It was myself,
You,
Director
okay, our
Caution.
committee made these
Yes. Yep.
recommendations.
Made the
Okay,
recommendations. Yeah.
perfect. All right, thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Director Beck?
I guess my only question is about the public school priority. I know I was kind of surprised to see it on this list because the voucher program had already passed. Are there any I'm trying to think of the word. Any proposals or thoughts towards how to make sure that as much money stays with the public schools as possible? Or is this strictly about voting for the existence of voucher programs? Do we know?
You got it.
I believe the reason why this still continues to show up on advocacy is for potentially having greater requirements on those where the ESAs come to. For us, we did not want to make this the highest priority, the committee to recommend to the board, because we feel like this is something that is already been brought into law. So let's just move forward. And if we see things that are brought up as a district of as a UEN district or and an RSAI district, that we would just bring those to our local electeds, but not make this the heavy priority moving forward. That was the thinking. And again, we want to reiterate that our board work is to bring recommendations here for the board. We don't speak for the board. So this is our committee work. As we sat down, these are the recommendations that, just like all the other committees that we have, that this is what we were thinking, channeling our inner board members.
Mm-hmm. So I guess my thought on that is I don't want to give the impression that we are okay with those changes as a board. Our board voted, unanimously at least twice on resolutions against this legislation. And so I guess, I don't want to give the impression that we don't care. But I understand that. So I guess I would say I would like to make sure that we keep on top of any potential loosening of restrictions or anything like that would come up. But I understand what you're saying there.
Any other discussion? If anyone wants to rate anything higher or lower or whatever, that we just kind of, it was either a 1 or a 7 is where we were at. Is there anything else on this? Director Potts, did you have anything on this?
I do not.
Okay.
I do like the formula equity being up high because last year we got nothing, not even our measly $5. So I would like to see it.
Yeah, we talked about that
Addressed.
quite a bit. Seeing no other discussion, we've already had the motion and second, so I will call for the Director Beck.
Sorry, I guess along those lines, I'm wondering if it would be possible for us to just submit a note about, not wanting to, not, because I understand the idea of using a 1 or a 7 to just kind of make it clear what we've chosen. Just make a note. But if other people don't agree with me, obviously, then don't do that. But that it's not that we aren't interested in that, but the philosophy behind why we rated it low for the.
If you want to move it, just say you want to move. We just kind of threw this out there. If you'd like to.
Okay.
That's what.
Well, can I move that we add a note under other priorities, maybe, or move the ESA, the voucher one up to like a 4?
This is going to come up on another set of priorities. And
yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to reiterate.
I think it comes up on the ISB one.
Yeah.
And did they whittle this down to like their top 3?
Yeah, and this we're just giving them what we have, and then they're going to take amongst all the other rural schools and then whittle
Right.
it down from there.
Well, maybe put in a note under other priorities or something that says, it's not that we're not concerned about this, but we understand that, we want to make sure that we keep our eye out for any changes, but we didn't rank it high not because we're not concerned about it. I
Right.
guess that would be my motion. Yeah. I did not. Yeah.
That's not a motion.
Right. It's
Worded as a motion.
Do I have to make a motion or can I just add a note to the
I
standing
think
circle?
you would have to amend it because it's as it's presented right
Okay,
now.
well, I make a motion to add a note describing our philosophy on voucher legislation and changes to it.
Okay.
And the rest as presented.
Mr. President, quick question. Since we will be dealing with this with both the rural and the urban, could we consolidate to make this applicable to both?
Yeah, just you'll have to when whoever
I'll just
reads the motion.
I'll just automatically
yeah,
make the motion for the
then
second
just
one.
put it
Yeah.
in there for that. Yeah. So the motion has been made to amend the original motion to include putting a note on our. Brenda, you wrote all that down, right? Okay.
Just put a footnote.
Perfect. Okay, perfect.
Sorry, I'm not being particularly articulate today.
We are going to amend. There is a motion to amend per what Director Beck had said. I'm going to say it like that. Is there a second to amend that?
A second.
Director Barnes. No, I don't think so. So I'll call for a vote on the amended motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Now I believe I got to go back and do it again, right? Okay. So, Bruce, did you vote? We didn't hear you.
You all froze on everything. I'll assume I voted yes
Understood. Thank you.
on that crystal clear motion.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
To pin a note to this, right? We're pinning a note on this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So now the motion's been, or the original motion's been amended. That was approved. Now I will call for the vote on the motion as amended, right? Don't I?
Yeah.
I'm done?
Yeah.
Perfect. Never mind that. We will move on to subject 10.08, legislative priorities for the Urban Education Network. May I have a motion?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board approve the Urban Education Network legislative priorities with the amendment.
From the rural schools?
Yes.
Okay. Motion's been moved. Is there a second?
May I amend the motion? Or do we have to second it first?
You have to second it, right?
I second it.
Okay. Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to make an amendment
Director Beck.
to append a note to this list. What? No, this is the next one. Oh, the previous. I thought I had to do it again.
She
Oh, I
added
wasn't
it in
even.
her
I'm
motion.
sorry. Somebody was talking to me in my ears. Okay. Sorry, Linda. Thank you.
Okay. So we're good? No? Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Motion carries. May I have a motion?
Dan,
Brenda?
sorry, I did screw up. You do need to go back up to rural schools. Thank you, Kevin. And what the vote was for the amendment. So you approved the amendment. Now you need to go back and approve. So you were right. I'm so sorry.
Can you say that again so I got that on recording?
You are so right, Dan. I apologize.
Thank you. I need to close this one out because we've already did everything, and then I'll move back to that, okay? Or did I? Now you got me confused, Brenda. All right, I'm going to call for this one. I had a motion, and then I had a second by Director Beck, and then she was going to amend it, but realized that Director Hayes had already amended it. Yes. Yeah, so I'm going to call for the vote on that. Huh? Yeah, I did. And then she was going to amend it. She didn't realize you amended it. You guys are really trying me out tonight to see how I'm doing, huh? I got you.
Technically, that wasn't even an amendment. It was a motion.
Correct. Correct. And poor Director Potts is like, what are these guys doing? I hope we didn't freeze on him.
I'm going to go fishing now. I'll send you a note.
Perfect. Thank you. The motion's been moved and seconded to approve the legislative priorities for the Urban Education Network. Seeing no other discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Now I'm going to move back up to subject 10.07, the legislative priorities for the Rural School Advocates of Iowa. I need an actual motion on the newly amended motion. So, I don't need to call for all that because it's already been done, right? I need a motion to approve the amended original motion of the legislative priorities for the Rural School Advocates of Iowa. You're killing me. Okay, so I can call it. Okay. Yeah. All right. The motion's been made and seconded for the subject 10.07 legislative priorities for Rural School Advocates of Iowa. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. You guys are great. Can I have a motion on subject 10.09, legislative priorities for the Iowa Association of School Boards?
Mr. Chairman,
Director Poston.
move the board choose the following 4 legislative priorities for submission to the Iowa Association of School Boards. And the committee chose preschool, mental health, teacher recruitment and licensure. We felt the teacher professional development and retention kind of went in together with that. And then the school funding policy.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this one? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 10.10, policies for board approval?
Mr. President,
Director Klein Jerome.
I recommend the board approve the following policies: 305.23, 307.02, 402.14, and 504.04.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. We'll move on to discussion items. The first item for discussion is subject 11.01, curriculum adoption for managing personal finance.
This is, do we have Diane Campbell online? She's online. Diane Campbell is right now in meetings in Des Moines, and she's going to be zooming in with us. This is in a long line of our curriculum adoptions that we have coming. This is a currently required class for throughout our Offer and Teach in Chapter 12. So Diane, are you on with us?
I am. Yes. Hello, everyone.
Diane, do you want to just give us a brief overview of this curriculum, and then that way we can see what questions we have before we bring this forward?
Absolutely. Thank you for your time. The Managing Personal Finance course is for the financial literacy course. It is the Knowledge Matters is curriculum resources that we have used in the past. We're requesting a 5-year application for this curriculum, and then ESSER, once ESSER sunsets after that 5 years, then it would pick up with Perkins funding, continue in that area. So the Knowledge Matters does provide that overview for students in the personal finance to support the learning that happens. And the license, it would be a site license for all 4 high schools. And it provides the simulations and the resources that are needed to meet the expectations within the personal finance course and the standards that are expected from Chapter 12.
Are there any questions? Director Klein Jerome.
Am I correct that the state no longer requires this, but as a district, we are still requiring it? Is that correct?
That is a great question. So Chapter 12 was updated, and the expectation is that the standards are still provided and throughout the curriculum, but it doesn't have to be a separate course. So we are still accountable for the standards that are held within the personal finance course. But you can take those standards and put them into other areas.
So are we setting this up to be a separate course?
We will continue to keep it as a separate course. We just have talked about this as a department, and through the data, just knowing that this is such an important concept for lifelong learners, and that it is so critical for future success for students that we want to make sure that they're not only getting this high quality resource, but it's also done with fidelity of implementation. And when you start pulling standards out and spreading them across multiple courses, across multiple grades, it is harder. It makes it more challenging to be able to address the fidelity of the standards themselves and assess those standards to ensure that the students are learning these very important skills. So at this current time, we will be keeping the course.
I 100% agree with that it should be maintained as a separate course and teach them to write a check.
Yes.
It's a joke, but.
Yeah.
Is there any other discussion on this? Director Beck?
I just had a question about the CTSO, the Career and Technical Student Organization. It says that this has an FBLA component, or Future Business Leaders of America, that facilitates our requirement of a CTSO. Can you explain why that's a requirement and what exactly that means?
With the Career and Technical Student Organization, that is something that is an area that we do need to provide an opportunity for students within to have that organization. And then the Knowledge Matters would help support that. Where it falls is in terms of a requirement. I will have to look into that a little bit more and follow up.
Any other questions or any other information board members would need before this comes to us at the next regular meeting?
Mr.
Director
President?
Potts?
Yes.
Go ahead.
One question, is this course going to be required of all students?
It is a course, yes, that students are currently registered for.
But is it a required course for graduation?
Yes.
And does this course count for, remember, we've moved to a two-tiered graduation certificate. Is this required for both?
That-
Since the state of Iowa no longer requires it as a course.
Yeah, it is in the core diploma proposal, and the recommendation is to keep personal finance as a required elective as well, or a required course, even for the core diploma. So it would be in both areas.
So when we passed the idea of the core diploma, it was because it was based on the state of Iowa's graduation requirements.
Mhm.
The state of Iowa no longer requires this as a course, yet we are going to require that those getting that diploma take this as a course.
That is correct. And it goes
Okay, then
back to
that
the importance of the content and the critical skills that are needed for future success.
I don't question that. What I question is this violates, I'm concerned that this conflicts with the motion we passed going with the core diploma. Because now we've added a requirement that the state no longer requires.
Mhm. In the core diploma proposal, and when that was passed, the personal finance class was listed as one of the courses. So we still had that local ability to make that decision that it would continue as a course. And so the core diploma has, that proposal does include the personal finance. And it was in the proposal.
Well, I think that we had there may have been some sort of a communication problem there, because I don't know that when we voted on it, and I'm not having a conniption over it, but I'm just saying, it seems to me that we voted to pass the core diploma based on whatever the state of Iowa was requiring for that. At the time, that was a requirement. It no longer is.
And it wasn't required when we passed the core diploma either. The Chapter 12 updates would have occurred last spring. And at that time, that's when the legislation changed to say that the financial literacy standards would need to be covered, but they would not need to be a separate course. And so the core diploma came to the board in July. And at that time, the legislation had already changed on the financial literacy. So the core diploma does include the core requirements of English language arts, math, science, social studies, health education, and PE. And then the financial literacy is also, we included that as a 0.5 unit of credit, which is a one-term course based on the fact that, again, they're essential skills that students will need for future success. We also had one unit of elective credit so that, again, students would be able to take electives, the one elective course of their interest. So, those two areas, financial literacy and the one elective course, would be above and beyond what the state core requires.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for your questions.
Director Beck.
I think maybe the miscommunication here is the material in this course is required by the state. The state just doesn't require us to have it as a separate course. So it's still required as part of a core diploma, correct? But it doesn't have to be a separate course. But for us, it's infinitely easier and better for students to take it as a course rather than sprinkled out throughout their, is that the correct way to interpret this?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Director Barnes.
In short, that was my question also. It sounds like the state still recognizes that this is an important competency, but no longer requires this as a standalone course. So I think the way the district is treating this still recognizes that this is an important competency for the core diploma.
Correct. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion on this or any other information board members would need? Director Potts, do you have anything else?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right, seeing none, we will move on to subject 11.02 DCSD apparel web store. I'll turn it over to the superintendent.
I wanted to bring an idea before the board and seek some feedback and bring for action in the future. In terms of logo, I'm very proud of our logo. It represents growing excellence. It represents Davenport. It represents every building. Davenport's a very unique district because we have multiple communities inside of our school district. I believe that our logo shows that. I believe that this shows that. So one of the things that we are looking forward to doing is there are times when we are a district where we are DCSD, and we want to provide every single one of our employees with a shirt. And so there's two things that we'd like to do. We'd like to put this store available to our staff to where they can select a polo that has our district-wide logo on it. And now, while I'm talking about this, we're not excluding from their own personal stores, from their own Davenport Central West, from their own swag, but also recognizing that we are a district. We are DCSD. And we would like to have in the future, we are DCSD days, to where we can all feel like we're a part of one team. And so the proposal would be that up front, we would buy all of our employees a polo of their choice, and they can select different colors. So if you are a Davenport North Wildcat, you can have a blue shirt that has the DCSD logo on it. Or if you're Sudlow, you can have an orange shirt that has that on it. And so for us, that's what we would like to do for our employees. That total would be anywhere from, depending on size and shirts and things of that nature, it's around the $60,000 to $70,000 range for us to do that. And then moving forward, we would offer that to our new staff coming in. Just kind of a welcoming, welcome to the district, welcome to our team component. Because people do move around inside of our district. We are a district of opportunities. And so to see that you are a part of a system that it may be bigger than one building is really important for us. Plus, Jamie does surveys, and this is something that spoke out on the survey. You know, give people a little bit of swag when they walk in the door. So that's one component. The other component is a district-wide store for grandma and grandpa that live on the East Coast or West Coast that may want to order something from Centro, Sudlow, and McKinley. And so we're looking to put that together. That will just be available on our store. It doesn't exclude or negate that our buildings have their own stores, and they would continue to do that. But this is something we just want to offer. When we go to do this, there's also other choices if people want to order a coffee mug or a t-shirt or things of that nature. But in terms for us, we just want to provide that one really nice polo and then designate days. We're also going to be sending our first practice round will be to the school board to order some computer bags and things of that nature. Now, when the store is ordered, if it's a personal item, you want to order something for yourself, that will go directly to you. But in terms of our internal store, when we order shirts for our own staff, then that will come here and we will disseminate that. So we wanted to kind of have this discussion and bring that to action next time if this is something the board would like to go forward with.
Is there any discussion on that? Director Barnes.
Generally, I'm supportive of this to build pride. I would ask the question whether or not there's any philanthropic support to help support the cost. It's a large ticket item, and I would at least be curious as to whether or not there's foundation or philanthropic support to help build pride, and whether there's opportunity to build some pride around that. So that would be a question I would have for the future. Thank you.
Director Beck.
That was actually what I was going to say. I think it's a great idea. I will go and buy one for myself and my husband and maybe our future Davenporter here. And I love the idea of having one for a new hire. But I would, based on the cost for everyone in one lump sum, I think it would be nice to see if there's any support, financial support that we could get for that. But I recognize also that once they're distributed, then it becomes a much smaller cost because you're just buying a few each year for new hires, right? And people can purchase what they want on their own. So I'm not, if we can't find it, we can't find it, but it's worth looking into.
Director Potts, you got anything?
I'm assuming this is general fund money.
Correct.
I've always supported the idea of swag, of supporting, logo shirts and T-shirts and sweatshirts. I think it's very important. It creates a sense of belonging, unit pride, building pride, district pride. And that's some of the stuff we really need.
Thank you. Anyone else? I think it's a great idea. I think when we did the deal where everyone got cookies or something, I mean, that was a huge thing, and it shows people you appreciate them. I realize it's a lot of upfront costs, but that's like a drop in the bucket on what we actually, like Director Potts was saying, I think if that's the day and you're wearing your swag that day and then you're going to the store or something after work or whatever, people see you wearing that stuff and they realize that you're a part of the district and things like that, I think it helps spread the word and the narrative about Davenport Schools, and then people, would come up and ask you about things and things like that. So it's not just the negative stuff you hear all the time or whatever, but I think that's a great idea, and it's cool that they can wear just the logo instead of just specifically there, so it's an all-district thing. I think that's great. This is probably one of the organizations I've ever been involved with that never gives out any swag. But I think, especially we had the groundbreaking thing and things like that, to be able to have that stuff, or even at a board meeting or whatever, and then to see staff out and about with it, even on graduation day and stuff. It's sad to see staff that have to go out and get that logo themselves and things like that. But I appreciate you all putting this together, and I know it takes a lot of work to do all that. So I think it's a great idea, a great opportunity, and I think it makes people feel appreciated. I mean, it's the little things, coffee mugs and things like that, really see that. I would also say that we should get some for our legislators when they come, so maybe they can wear that up at the Capitol and think of us when they're up there making decisions and stuff like that. So, or even a coffee mug, however.
Mr. Chairman, was that made in the form of a motion?
No. This is just, yeah, I like it. So I'm assuming you'll bring this to us at the next regular meeting or something, and then we could look into something like that, some coffee mugs. It'd be great to get that kind of stuff out into the community. Is there any other discussion on this? Any other information or anything like that, anyone? Okay. We will move on to subject 11.03, policies for board first discussion. I'll turn it over to Director Klein Jerome.
Collaborative decision-making, we are recommending retiring this policy. Many years ago, the district was very focused on collaborative decision-making. That is not the case, not that they don't take into account what all groups have to say, but this really is no longer relevant. Any questions?
So is it safe to say that this is really a policy that puts into words things that are already like ingrained in our DNA as a district? So we don't really need a separate policy to explain that?
I would not say that. But this policy was put in place in 1998. It was just looked at differently at that time because honestly then we never had a seat at the table, and so it was including employee groups with the district's intent. And yes, we do, labor management and that kind of thing, so we do some of that, but we went to many trainings on this and how things were done, building level, district level, and it's not relevant, this wording.
Mr. President?
He said president.
Oh, yeah.
Director Potts.
Yeah, it was when this was put in place in '98. It was a reaction to a rather top-down administrative model that we had been functioning under for a long time, and this was an attempt to make a philosophical change in the way in which we were going to deal with our teachers in the building, how principals were going to be dealt with, how the district was going to deal with the different bargaining units. And it was necessary to put it in as a board policy to create the necessary pressure on individuals to move in that direction. Would that be fair to say, Director Klein Jerome?
Yes, that would be.
Yes. And we can name names if you want names.
Yeah, I've got those names too.
But I agree with the policy committee that it no longer has the urgency that it used to have.
Any other questions? Okay, Mr. President, it's all yours.
Thank you, Director Klein Jerome. That will be on our next regular meeting do we have to have a second discussion on that?
We don't have to discuss it a second time, do we?
Okay.
Approval.
Thank you for the clarification, Brenda. We'll move on to administrative reports.
None at this time.
I don't even know why I asked. Board request.
Director Postian gave me 2 board requests. One to see an information request to see the structure of ASE and who reports to who. That way, when we are giving presentations, people can see. No, it's okay. I think I can remember them. And then the second one was a presentation on the district's plan for attendance and how we plan on moving forward for the next school year. Is that accurate?
I'll second
So we
this.
do the first one first, or both of them at the same time?
You're
So
gonna
an
put a
organizational
board member?
chart, it was an organizational chart and then a plan on attendance,
Yes.
getting students. I'll second them both.
Okay. Any other board requests? All right. We'll move on to board reflections. Director Potts, I'll start with you.
I think one of the things we learned tonight is that there's a lot of learning we all have to do when it comes to parliamentary procedure. Other than that, I think as far as reflections, a very smooth run board meeting. We got a lot of stuff done, nothing very controversial. Once again, questions are asked, answers are given, and that makes for a smooth operation.
Thank you. Director Barnes.
Just one reflection. Very grateful for our recent graduate who came in and talked about the district's posture relative to transgendered students and their safety, and hopefully that will be a topic we can address at some point. But always great to see young people engaged in this type of discussion and process.
Thank you, Director Klein Jerome.
This was a very smooth running meeting with that one little glitch, but it was nice that we were done in an hour. It's been a long time since we've sailed through this quickly, so that was good.
Thank you, Director Beck.
Ditto for both of those. And also, I appreciate that we welcome small people to our board table as well.
Director Poston.
I think along with all the curriculum that we've adopted here in the past few meetings, again, the textbook adoptions, both on the consumer science pathways and on applied science pathways. So again, I think what we're doing as a district and going forward with updating our curriculum has been very positive.
Thank you, Director Hayes.
I agree with everything that's been said, and also the fact that Director Snow visited us first in light of all of the work that we've done with the state. To have her come visit us first, I think that was a privilege and a pleasure to have her here.
Thank you, Superintendent Schneckloff.
My two were the curriculum adoptions. I second that piece. The second piece is I'm really proud of the surveys that Jamie's putting out to our employees, and the information that's coming back is actually informing some of the decisions that are being made. And so I'm really proud of the work that her and her team do in that area.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody keeping me on my toes tonight, and the peer checks, it worked out great. Really had to have my A game tonight. With that, Director Potts, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Meeting adjourned.